Welcome to the show, Pat. Today on Soul Star and on Janet Namaste, the podcast, we're doing something different. We are recording this in mid-August, which is actually like we're basking under the full moon of Aquarius, the blue moon in a sense, and a very nurturing time indeed, and a time of great release of whatever's internal that we can um, absorb what is meant to be ours and that for the sake of sharing with the collective. So how appropriate that we are blessed with your presence today, Pat Chirico. And before I go on and introduce your work to everybody, I'd want to just share a little bit about you and give a brief bio and what you shared with me. And I had actually the great privilege of being in your work, in your presence. I've shared it with family, I've shared it with friends, I've shared it with colleagues because it was so exponential, like just exponentially effective and brilliant and natural, that for me, it just was a great gift. It was very authentic. So Pat is a meditation teacher. He's a breathwork facilitator, a spinal energetics practitioner whose work is focused on holding space for people that to meet themselves with compassion and curiosities as they dissolve limitations, release suppressed emotions, and access greater levels of peace and joy within. And I'm going to allow you to expand on that of how your transition out of corporate and how you became integrated with this work. Because we have the great privilege, which I'm so excited about, is to share with you on this membership today in Soul Star. It's a place where a community from all over the world, they meet, and twice a month we share people that are in the same resonance like you, that of pure of heart, very selfless, and are I just think you're a guru in disguise. you're, you're a guru in hiding. So we have the great privilege of having you as our guest today. And for the first time, we're recording this and we're going to make it live for everyone who listens to the podcast to listen to and invite them to a special event that we're having on September 3rd in New York, where you're doing a workshop on somatics and spinal energetics. I'll be doing EFT work there. And I am just so excited to have you as an incredible guest. It's such an honor. So without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for such a beautiful introduction as well. I wasn't expecting that, so I appreciate that.
It's the truth. It's the truth. So for the Soul Star and for the rest of the global community, can you share about what it is of how you found breath work and the type of breath work that you do, or how breath work found you? How about that?
That's a great question.
Of your
Um,
journey of awakening, just share, if you could share a little bit about that.
yeah, I worked in corporate as an accountant for just under 5 years, and I struggled throughout that entire 5 years. Um, just cycling through days of depression, anxiety, feeling quite purposeless, feeling lost, and just disconnected from myself, what I was doing, and those around me. It wasn't very fun to be around during that time. Um, and I tried all the traditional methods, tried all the um, normal ways to try and fix myself, thinking something was broken within me at the time, and nothing worked. I just felt like I kept getting worse, felt like I kept spiraling, and just needed a circuit breaker. And at the time, I thought it was coincidence and by chance that I stumbled upon a group of men who were doing weekly breathwork journeys um, in someone's house, like 20 minutes from where I live. And I thought I would attend. I've tried everything else and everything else has failed. What is one more thing to try? Um, and I remember going to that breathwork journey, and it was the most profound thing, perhaps even to this day, that I still experience. I remember just crying on the floor uncontrollably and being held by other people. And for the first time everything I was feeling was accepted and was understood, and there was space for it. And I remember leaving that session feeling so light, so clear, and I'd become obsessed with the work in that moment almost straight away, knowing that something special was happening here. And I started to attend classes quite regularly, and that sparked my curiosity to learn more about it. And 10 years later now to teach it, and help others facilitate the work as well, which has been a really special journey in itself.
What other methods did you try when you were going through? I guess is it the dark night of the soul?
Yeah, I guess you could. It was sort of that point where, yeah, I wasn't getting out of bed. I was calling in sick to work just because I couldn't front up
Mm,
to that place anymore. Um, I tried traditional therapy for a little bit, but I found it very hard to talk about what I was feeling, and actually vocalize that. So while that method can work and it can be quite effective for me, it felt like I couldn't be who I needed to be in that setting. I tried to ignore how I was feeling. That was one thing I tried for a long time, and that failed me quite significantly as well. Um, but breath work and meditation were the first things that fundamentally started to create a shift in my system that I could actually viscerally feel, and that was new to me.
right, that's true. Because when I worked with many facilitators, and I myself have been practicing breath work for many years. And
Mm,
through my journey of Kundalini as well, it's all different kind of breath work, different types of yoga, where you're breathing through the belly or through the throat and everything like that. But your specific method, which I want to understand the difference of the breath work and
mhm,
why this whole, it's the modality of somatics, and how it elevates, what it does to you viscerally, what it does to you on a bioenergetic
mhm,
level. Because when you say viscerally, it for me, it felt spiritual, and also you feel your body as this energetic fluid, like there's a fluidity that happens there. So what is the difference of the type of somatics that you work in, and spinal energetics as well, which I find so fascinating, as
mhm.
opposed to the other breath work?
Yeah, the one point of difference, and the breath is so powerful. There are so many methods and so many ways to breathe that can really change our physical, mental, and emotional health. And to your point, even our spiritual health as well. The way we focus on breath work through this lens is to really see it that our body is really a time capsule holding on to all the memory of our past. It's stored somewhere in here, and you can feel it in moments of stress, in moments of doubt, in moments of anxiety. You can feel something somewhere in your body. Um, so, what we're experiencing through this work is we're actually allowing ourselves through the breath to almost travel through time. Our breath has the
Mm,
capacity to break through the barriers of linear time. We can create these non ordinary states within our consciousness that allow us to slip through time, so to speak, where we can tap back into that somatic memory in our body and actually start to release what perhaps needed to be expressed 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago,
yeah,
but never had the space to be expressed. And we're giving it that moment to come into the light, giving ourselves that moment to actually feel what had to be felt all those years ago. And through that process, we're really putting a full stop on our past. Because until we do that, the past is just bleeding out into the present moment again and again
exactly.
and again. Um, and as we do this, this is where when we speak to the facilitators we train, that this work is giving people the chance to re-story their life. We have one story that we're carrying around with us about who we are. And this allows us to consciously tap back into that story and actually take the pen and write what we want to write for our story. And that's the real beauty of this work.
Oh my God, that's so profound. It's um similar to the work that I have always been doing with hypnotherapy and energy healing work. But what I'm really working on now is, I feel like it's all inner child work and trauma therapy, constellation work, family constellation, and it's bringing in the soul fragments that during that time when there were those moments that we didn't give, we may have not even had permission, or we didn't even know we had permission to feel it through. You know, sometimes they say you have to feel it in order to heal it, but it doesn't mean necessarily to go through that trauma again. So I'm working now, I'm doing a lot of soul fragmentation, like fragmented work of shamanic work, bringing that in, and through your modality of the breath as well. It seems like it's kind of like that also. It's condensing the timelines, going back and reuniting with that, you know, like for wholesomeness. If that's, as you're speaking, I'm visualizing that.
Yeah, absolutely. That word wholeness is a big part of what
Yeah.
breath work is. And people may have heard of holotropic breath work has been a popular branch of breath work. Um, and the word itself breaks down as to return to wholeness. So breathwork as a vehicle is designed to bring people to that place. The beautiful thing about adding in something like spinal energetics, which is an energetic modality, is we can become more specific and more pinpointed as to what we're focusing on and what
Mm.
we're exploring in our body. For those who may have seen something like spinal energetics before, we're working in your energetic field, so in your actual energetic layers, to actually pinpoint exactly where the root causation is. And the great thing about this is we don't have to talk about it, we don't have to remember what it was. We can simply allow the body and the energetic field to communicate that to us, and through that proceed to release what was there. And that's what drew me to this work, because there's so many memories, there's so many sort of micro traumas that have happened in our past. We can't be expected to remember them all. And this work doesn't require that. It just allows us to follow the felt sense in our body and let our body get to work and do what it has the inbuilt wisdom to do. Our body already knows how to release this if we give it the space to do so.
How do you, like, after the release of this kind of work, of the trauma, release of what no longer serves, the
Mm.
unhealthy loyalty that we were holding on to, not even knowing half the time. It's like the rewind, repeat. And when that happens, how does one elevate to the point where they're not going back? It's a habitual thing. Is there a rewiring that happens? Like, what are your suggestions for after the work?
That's a great question. And firstly, just on that, sometimes, because people may have experienced this, sometimes you have to repeat the same pattern a few times. It doesn't mean you're going backwards. I know it can be a frustrating part of the journey because you're like, oh, I thought I've already healed this. Why am I
Yes.
experiencing this again? And I've been there many times on my journey. But this journey in itself is a spiral. And each time you come back to that same lesson, you're seeing it from a different perspective. And perhaps there's more wisdom to extract from that lesson as well.
Exactly.
Sometimes we don't want to be too quick to release everything because we might miss the actual lessons that are contained within them. Um, so that's one part of that. But secondly, once we do feel that release, we're opening up space for something new to fill that space. And that's where integration is so incredibly vital to this
Yes.
work.
Integration is key.
I
Key.
always tell, yeah, absolutely. I often say to facilitators, it's in that integration period where healing meets action, and how are we going to take this newfound space we've created in our system, in our nervous system, even, and what are we going to bring to that space? Is it more joy? Is it more gratitude? Is it more compassion? Is it perhaps a change in job, which was my first step in life? Like, what's
Hmm.
that actionable step that's going to solidify this change that's occurring? Um, and for us, we actually start that inside the actual breathwork journey, where we help people tap into these elevated emotional states and create these corrective emotional experiences inside the journey itself. Because it's not just about releasing, it's also about experiencing what's on the other side of that release is so vital as well. Trauma and joy can coexist. You don't have to heal everything before you can feel joy again.
Exactly.
So part of the work is connecting those two inside a journey so people can start to find a roadmap back to where that joy, that freedom, that peace is already in their body.
That's true. As you're speaking, it's so funny. I'm looking at you, but it's also like my I'm getting messages, so my eyes are going up and up and up. And what came, because I never write down my questions whenever I'm doing the pods or connecting with people. For me, it's like a heart to heart, soul to soul. It's all
Mm,
about authenticity. But as you're speaking, it came to me. It's going through this kind of somatic experience and other type of modalities that are really hold space. Like this is a very nurturing, very full moon kind of experience, because it's that divine feminine that hold
mm,
space. It isn't like the dramatic type of, which I've never experienced, but I know like those that microdose and ayahuasca and all. I've never, so I have no nothing's really to say through personal experience, but that just feels very masculine to me for some reason. It feels like very like anything that's chemically a chemical catalyst. It doesn't really, for me, it's very masculine. The thing that comes from within, which is breath and energy healing work, and where you're doing the integration, is very feminine, very nurturing. There's a balance there. But as you're talking, what came to me is um people get to these beautiful people, these souls that came here to elevate the consciousness of the world. They're the ones that hold so much because of their tender hearts.
mm.
It's asking them, who are you without your story?
Yeah.
Like, you give them an opportunity in this particular modality of rewriting this identity that brings them closer to them. It's a beautiful gift.
Yeah, and I feel very lucky to be able to hold that space for people, and I I'm really just repaying the favor. I've been so lucky to work with so many amazing facilitators and mentors who've held that space for me, and I find that the most important aspect of this work, even beyond the modality itself, because all
Mm.
modalities can work and they're all beautiful in their own right. It's more about finding what one resonates with you, but more importantly, it's finding spaces that you feel truly held in. Most of us just want to be seen, accepted, and heard. They're the very qualities we were missing throughout most of our life that created the emotional tension or pain in the first place. So for me,
Sure.
my intention in my work is to purely give somebody that first. The modalities come second. Um, but if I can make someone feel deeply seen, heard, and held, that transcends the modality. And that in itself is
Mhm.
incredibly healing as well, just to be in the presence of someone who's giving you that gift.
It's so true. It takes one person that sees you
Mm,
that can change everything, because many people may have given you their keys or advice, but you can hear them, or you can, but it doesn't really absorb in. But that's that one person, when it's a vibrational match. It's amazing. It really is amazing. But also, as a facilitator for so many years, the difference is the intent is always
mhm.
genuine, but we can't get attached to whether or not their process. And that's tough, especially when there's a lot of love that's
Mm,
behind the scene. It's not just like a tactical type of method. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Mm.
So it's
Yeah,
that just, yeah, go ahead.
I think it is so hard because as a facilitator, you genuinely want to help and see that change. But
Hmm.
as we all probably know in our life, there's people we want to see change, but we can't force that change upon them. Um, People have to really find this work at the right time when they're ready. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes at events, I see the person who's been forced there from by a friend who doesn't want to be there.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's and it's hard for them, and you got to respect where they are
Yeah.
on their journey. So yeah, I can understand that quite a bit.
Yep, it's so true. It's like one time I brought my husband, like we went, there was, we're like two passing ships. We're together for like almost 30 years, but he traveled all the time. I travel. We have, but we make it work, we make it work. And one time he said, all right, we haven't seen each other in a while. what are you doing? And I said, I'm going over to this constellation event. And he's like, what is that? And I said, just, you could come. And he's like, all right, it'll be like a date for us. I'm like, yeah, it'll be like a date. And then we go there. It happened to be Michelle, which I wanted you to meet her, but I know that in October you can't come to New York, but it'll align. I know that you're coming in September. We'll talk about that in a moment. And here we are. He comes in, he sees Michelle, and we're in her daughter's house and a bunch of strangers. And he's like, what is this? We're sitting in a circle. And I'm like, this is our date, you know? I'm like, this is date day. And of all the people that were chosen there, he ended up being chosen. and, and this is someone who, yes, I meditate, every single day for many, many years, and we're in full support of one another. But this is not like, this is not someone who practices breath work. This is someone who deals with, like he's his own inner guru. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and then she asked, why are you here? And his answer was, because my wife asked me to be here. And that's exactly what you're saying, is people sometimes come and they're not ready to do the work. But what I want to ask you is, what is it that you're going to offer today for the Soul Star members? Like, I am not going to record, this is not going to be on the podcast, guys. So if you want to actually experience Pat, you can either connect with him directly, or you can join the Soul Star membership, the place where amazing, beautiful beings come together and share resources, and people like you. And you know what else I love about this community? They love to see the other person win. It's a genuine, like,
Really beautiful.
yeah, there's no envy, there's no jealousy, it's just pure. If you had to, like, it's pure abundance and love. Like, it really is. It really is. And I mean that in the most genuine way. So what is it that you're going to be doing today for them, the type of breath work? And I also want you to speak into of what it is that you're going to offer in September in New York. And one of the questions that one of their members asked, of how spinal energetics differs from spinal treatments from like a holistic chiropractor. I know I asked you 3 questions at the same time, but that is my
That's okay.
Mars. That's my Mars and Gemini freaking brain that doesn't stop. Like, I have to hold myself back because it's like 30 questions. So 3 is good.
Yeah, if I miss one of the answers, please let me know. But
Yeah.
I'll start with the last question there in terms of how it differs. So one way I love to explain this work is that if you get a cut on your hand, you don't have to sit there and think about, how am I going to heal this cut? Your body has the inbuilt intelligence and wisdom to take care of it. You don't even have to think about it. It'll just do it. So what we're doing through this work is we're actually interacting with the energetic field and actually reawakening this innate intelligence in the system. And a lot of chiropractic schools are trying to do that. These methods are built on the back of chiropractic studies. So they're manually adjusting the system in order to allow the energy to flow through that system, that intelligence to reawaken. We're not doing any manual adjustments through this work. We're simply making gentle contact points along the spine, similar to acupuncture, acupressure points in Chinese medicine. And
Interesting.
through that, we're connecting with the energetic field. And as we do that, the body starts to naturally move on its own. Um, it naturally knows how to adjust itself, like a chiropractic adjustment, essentially. And it starts to weave through, it moves, it spontaneously tremors as it starts to release that tension, and ultimately, just like a cut would heal itself, heal those internal wounds without any external force being applied. So it's very gentle in nature, but then quite profound and deep as a result of what's occurring within the system. That was the first question. Second, what am I going to do? Yeah, I'm remembering all the questions as we go.
Thank you. Thank you. By the way, it's not just like Mars and Gemini. It's like, I was born and raised in New York. Speed limit is 30. We go 75 miles. But then I get tickets all the time because that's the way the city's making. Like
Yeah. Um, so in September, what we're going to offer is people a chance to truly experience that work, and start to feel what it's like to reawaken that intelligence within their system and
Mm.
reconnect to that place within them where we don't have to try and think of our way through our feelings or our pain anymore, but we can just simply allow our body to move through a natural process of healing that it has the capacity to do. So you'll have an opportunity to experience spinal energetics, and you'll have a chance to learn how to use your breath to not just master your nervous system, but also to influence your mental, emotional, and even spiritual state at will. And that's the most powerful part of this work, that you're literally getting the keys back to the vehicle, um, where we can take the work from the mat and actually start to apply it in our day-to-day life. So we'll also teach you ways you can do that, but fundamentally you have a chance to truly experience this work and not just let go of what limitations may be holding you back, but also start to find what is on the other side of those limitations as well. And that's the most exciting part, because that's where pure possibility and potential lie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so looking forward to it. And then part of the integration work is I will be doing EFT work to help the integrative process. So
Yeah.
that's in September. And then right now for the Soul Stars, we're going to do a little journey. But before that, for the podcast listeners and viewers, how can one find you and work with you and what your offerings are at this moment in time?
Yeah, so for people who would like to connect, the best way is simply through Instagram. My full name, Pat Chirico, and I should pop up if you type that into Instagram. Right now, there's sort of two main offerings that we provide. One is that we do facilitate a training for people who want to be trained in breathwork and people who want to offer breathwork in their communities. So we have a group of people we're training at the moment, which is a really beautiful journey to go on, with people who are inspired to share this work with others in their life. Um, and secondly, I work one on one with individuals as well, sharing this work and guiding them through their own healing journey as well. So that's what we offer currently.
Amazing. Amazing. So, everyone, thank you, thank you, thank you, Pat. Thank you for your time. I know that how many hours are we apart? 11? No, 10? I forgot.
Uh,
Eastern Standard Time and
yeah, it's about, I think it's about 12. Yeah.
oh, about oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So it's like 1 a.m. your time now?
Very early our time in the morning. Yes.
Oh, wow. Thank you so
No,
much.
it's a pleasure. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for the gifts you share with the world. Thank you so much for now the offering that we're going to share with the community. And yeah, thank you to your wife because she does this work with
It
you,
does.
And I love that you travel with your baby. Like he's been to more countries than I have, and he's
It's
not been two yet.
wild.
Wait, how old is he now?
Yeah, he's two in October, so
Yeah,
he's
it's
traveled far and wide already. So it's
I
quite amazing.
know. He's
Yeah.
been to more countries than I have. Maybe next lifetime I'll choose to be your child. I don't know, but
We'll see.
we'll see. We'll see.
If you
We'll
like
see.
traveling, then somehow that might be a good idea. I might have to
I
be my own
do.
child when I come back in the
I
next lifetime.
yeah, that's it. I love traveling and I love breath work, so I choose to
Yeah,
be your child.
yeah.
Amazing. So thank you so much, Pat. And for everyone that's listening, thank you for listening today to
Thank
Janet
you.
Namaste podcast. And until next time, I will see you on the September monthly forecast. Namaste, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Pat.